Faith and spirituality in today's world. This is a journey back to ourselves. In a world full of distractions and doubts, there is within us a still small voice, a voice that calls us. Maybe you've heard this voice before. Maybe you're still looking for her. Today, I invite you to reflect with me on faith and the power of spirituality. And at the end of this journey, something very special awaits you. Judith and I will tell you the story of a little fish, of a small fish that discovers the greatest secret of life. This story doesn't just touch adults. It is also ideal for entering into dialogue with children, especially in these challenging times. It can help you think together about important questions in life and gently involve the little ones. There are moments in life when we search for something bigger than ourselves. Moments when our hearts long for answers. Moments when we feel that there must be more than what we can see with our eyes. We live in a time in which many things have become faster, louder, more tangible. Yet in the midst of this world full of distractions, there is a still small voice. A voice within us that calls us. It is the voice of faith, the voice of spirituality, the reminder that we are not just body, but also soul. Today we are talking about faith and spirituality in today's world. And maybe this journey will remind you of something you've always known deep inside. What does faith mean today? Faith is not a concept. It is not a set rule. He is not tied to an institution. Faith is a feeling, an inner knowing that there is something bigger than us. Something that supports us when we stumble, that guides us when we are lost. In today's world, many have lost access to the faith, not because they don't want to believe, but because they allow themselves to be caught up in the noise of the world. The noise of everyday life, the doubts, the fear. But in reality, faith is not something you have to prove. It is something you feel. Faith is the trust that life has meaning, that we are never truly alone. Why do we need spirituality? Spirituality is not a religion, it is not a set path. It is the connection to something deeper. Amazement at the beauty of nature. The feeling of peace in a quiet moment. the love we feel when we look into someone's eyes. Spirituality lies in silence, in the breath between two thoughts, trusting that life is more than just chance. In a world full of uncertainty, spirituality is the anchor that gives us support. How can we bring faith back into our lives? The truth is, the answers were always within us. We just have to learn to listen again. Faith returns. We take time for the silence. When was the last time you really did nothing except be? For gratitude. Because faith grows where we recognize the good in our lives. For connection with nature, with other people, with what lies beyond words. We live in a world full of distractions, but in this world, spirituality is not a luxury. It is a necessity. She gives us support. She gives us confidence. And it gives us the courage to believe that light exists even in dark times. Faith does not mean that we have no doubts. Faith means that we trust despite doubts. Because the answers we are looking for often lie deeper than we think. And sometimes we find them in surprising ways. Now we invite you to sit back and to hear a special story with us. The story of a little fish who discovers the ocean's greatest secret. A story full of wonders, which not only enchants the little ones, but also shows us adults new ways.
The Little Fish and the Secret of the Ocean. Everything is magical in this special ocean. The colors dance, the water glitters, and the little fish, he can transform. Sometimes it is brightly colored. Sometimes it shimmers gently. Sometimes it looks a little different. Because in this magical ocean, everything can change, flow, and grow. But no matter what he looks like, in his heart, he always remains the same. And he knows the ocean holds him, loves him, and is always with him. One morning a small fish was swimming happily around the corals. Suddenly a question popped into his head. A question he couldn't shake. He saw his mum nearby and asked curiously, "Mum, where is God?"
Mom, where is God?
Mum smiled softly and touched her fin to his.
That's a big question, little one. Some say God is everywhere, and some people don't even know it exists. But one thing is certain: everyone has to find their own way to feel it. Why don't you ask the other fish? Maybe their answers will help you.
The little fish nodded excitedly. He was ready to reveal the secret. The journey begins. The little fish swam off right through the shimmering water. The sun's rays shining through the surface of the water made the ocean sparkle like a sea of diamonds. The first thing he encountered was a fat pufferfish curiously sniffing a sea anemone.
Hello, pufferfish. Do you know where God is?
The pufferfish puffed up with excitement and shook his head.
God? I don't know him. I've never seen him before,
he said with a laugh and continued swimming. The little fish became thoughtful.
Could it be that God is invisible?
A little further, he came across a large, shiny mackerel fish.
Hello, do you know where God is?
Asked the little fish. The mackerel twitched its fins.
Some say he is in the flow. Others say he is in the light. But who knows? I'm always so busy that I barely have time to think about it,
she replied. The little fish sighed softly.
Is God just something the greats think about?
But then he remembered his mom's words. Everyone finds their own way. With new hope, he continued swimming. He came across a small sardine that was happily playing with other sardines in a school.
Hello, do you know where God is?
He asked. The sardine thought for a moment and then said,
My grandma told me that God is supposed to be everywhere, in the entire ocean. But I don't fully understand how it works.
The little fish thanked him and continued swimming. His heart beat faster. Maybe he was on the right track. But the longer he swam, the heavier his heart became. He'd gotten a lot of answers, but none of them felt right. He sank to the soft seabed and watched as small bubbles rose around him and disappeared into the current.
Maybe God doesn't exist.
He whispered quietly. His heart felt heavy, and for a moment he just wanted to give up. The ocean seemed so big, and he felt so small. But just as he was about to close his eyes, he felt something. A gentle movement, like a warm current, enveloped him. The seaweed swayed slightly back and forth, and suddenly he felt a glimmer of hope.
Maybe I'll swim a little further. Maybe there's something waiting for me there.
He found an old wise fish among the seagrasses. The little fish swam to him in awe.
Sorry, wise fish. Do you know where God is?
I've asked a lot of fish, but no one seems to know for sure. The wise fish smiled and closed his eyes for a moment.
Ah, you seek God. The truth is, little fish, God is everywhere. He is the water you swim in, the current that carries you and the light that dances through the waves. And you know what? God is in you too.
The little fish blinked in surprise.
Inside me?
Yes. God experiences himself through everything that lives. When you smile, God smiles too. He sees the world through you. Every time you feel joy, God feels it too.
The little fish closed his eyes and let himself be carried by the gentle current. He felt the water on his skin, the warmth of the sunlight and the calm that enveloped him. Suddenly he understood. God had been with him the whole time. He was in the ocean, in the light, in the movement, and also in his own little heart. He opened his eyes and saw the water sparkling around him. It felt like the entire ocean was hugging him. He felt safe, loved and safe. The little fish thanked the wise fish and happily swam back to his mom.
Mom, I have found God.
He cried joyfully. His mom smiled and said,
I knew that, my darling. You had the answer within you all along.
And so the little fish fell asleep peacefully that evening, knowing that he was never alone, that the ocean and God would always surround him and protect him.
The story of the little fish showed us. The answers we seek already lie within us. Faith in life and in ourselves is the anchor that carries us through every challenge. If we trust, even if we don't see the answers yet, then we will be guided.
We are the mirrors through the God himself experiences yourself. Like a drop is not separated from the ocean, we are like that too, never separated from God.